Hello and welcome to Hybrid, powered by chinkseyMEDIA. Back again for a slightly delayed Mikel Arteta's pre-Sunderland press conference. We head to Sunderland this weekend in our final match before the November international break, and Mikel Arteta has been facing the press before the trip. It's our first visit to the Stadium of Light in just over 9 years, and before we head north, Mikel has been answering questions on our opponents, player availability, and much more. On any new injuries? No news. We remain the same, and there's nobody new that can join the squad, so all the same. Okay, so obviously we go into the game with the same squad as we had in previous games, notably the game against Slavia Prague. So a relatively strong squad with the likes of Noni, Madueke, Martin Odegaard, Gabriel Jesus, still out. On Gabriel Jesus being back in training, it's about making the steps day by day in a different surrounding. He's been doing everything on his own. Now he's got very competitive players around him. And let's see how he copes with that. But he's full of energy. I love the reaction of all his teammates when he first joined us, and it's great to have him back. Yeah, obviously Gabriel Jesus is an infectious character, well respected among the group. He's been out for 9-10 months now. So obviously he's back in training. He may not be ready for full contact training, but obviously with the likes of Mosquera, Gabriel, William Saliba to come up against him in training, drills and things like that in matches, it will be a good test to see whether or not he's ready for proper match action. But I doubt he'll be ready for that for another 4 to 5 weeks at the earliest. On Odegaard, Havertz, Madueke, Gyökeres and Martinelli not being available, I cannot confirm all of that, but you are not far off. Doesn't want to rule out Gyökeres just to play mind games with Sunderland, but obviously Gyökeres hasn't been picked for the Sweden squad, so I think that's quite telling. With regards to Havertz, we won't see him in this game. We won't see him before the international break, nor will we see Martinelli, Odegaard or Madueke. On if they could be free after the international break. Some of them, all of them, I don't know. Who knows? Only him. There are a lot of things that have to happen in the next 2 weeks and everything has to be perfect. But I think we'll be very close in most of them to be in a really strong position. Well, when he says most of them, I think he's referring to Madueke definitely, Martinelli definitely, and probably most likely Odegaard as well. And Gyökeres, of course. So I think Havertz is just a case of, is he ready enough? Is he fit enough for the bench? The same with Odegaard, but I think Martinelli and Madueke should be fine. On his relationship with Granit Xhaka, I loved every minute that we spent together. When I joined, he was in a special moment in his life and career, and between all of us, we tried to guide him, to give him a different perspective and make him feel loved and valued. And he responded in an incredible way. He made me a better coach. He helped us to develop and improve a lot as a football team and as a club. And I will be eternally grateful because I have great memories of him. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that Granit Xhaka played the best football of his career under Mikel Arteta. So there's going to be an affinity there, a mutual respect. That 22-23 season, his last season with the club, culminated in us coming real close to winning the league. But he decided to uproot himself and leave and go back to Germany, where he spent a considerable chunk of his formative years in football. Obviously, he started with Basel, if I'm not wrong, and then joined Borussia Mönchengladbach, who he captained up until 2016, if I'm not wrong. This is all the top of my head. And then obviously it took him a while to get going with the club. But when he did, he showed what he was. And I think for the last 5-6 years, he's been at a high standard. On if he wanted Granit to stay in 2023. I already did it once and we extended his contract. And when he came in and explained the reasons, you have to understand the human being. You have to be grateful. It was a unique opportunity for him to go back to Germany, to his family. And there were certain things that he wanted to experience as well. I believe it was the right moment. He was very honest and straightforward, as he always is. And we found a way to find a good solution for all of us. Yeah, so as I mentioned already, he spent a number of his formative years at Borussia Mönchengladbach in Germany. Then he came to us, he spent probably about 7, 8 years with us, and then obviously he decided to go back to Germany. But he was there for 2 seasons, if I'm not wrong. Now he's back in England with Sunderland. It'll be good to go up against him. On if Xhaka's move to Sunderland is one of the signings of the summer. With the impact he's having, one of the best, I would say. I think what they've done as a football club as well in the last few years is very impressive. The management and the decisions that they've taken and how stable they look and how they have started the season is very impressive. Yeah, obviously Granit Xhaka's gone in there and his mentality, his leadership, his attitude, professionalism will rub off on all the younger players, all the rest of the players. He's obviously Premier League proven. You know, he's a winner with Arsenal, Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously, he's an invincible with them. And he's obviously now already the club captain because of those, principles that he has. Similar to Jordan Henderson going to Brentford, I would say Granit Xhaka going to Sunderland's a kind of similar type of thing where Henderson played against Liverpool and was successful. Hopefully, Xhaka isn't successful later on. On Pep Guardiola managing his 1000th game this weekend. What a number, what a career, what an inspiration. He's been to everybody in football. I would say in sport as well, and especially for me. It's an incredible achievement. It goes down in a history of the very best and the few that could only achieve something like that. Again, I think it will remain in the history of football for years to come. 1,000 games in football is amazing. Obviously, Pep Guardiola has changed the landscape of football since around 2009. I think since 2009, football's changed for the better. And obviously, it's down to him. He's had like a major impact in the way football's played, the way football's seen, with playing out from the back, with the tiki-taka, with inverted fullbacks, with false number 9s when he started it with Messi in 2009. So his fingerprints are all over modern day football for sure. On if he will be watching Manchester City v Liverpool, I'm just focused on today's game. How crucial, how difficult and how tough it's going to be. And that's the first step we have to make. Yeah, I think the main thing is we need to focus on winning the game later on. And if we can do that, then we can now look to other fixtures, namely that big fixture tomorrow, Manchester City against Liverpool. If we can win, that's the main thing. Because now we know that for sure, one or both of our direct opponents are going to drop points. And if he's surprised by Sunderland's performances this season, not surprised. When you analyse them and see how well organised they are, how they adjust things and the spirit they have within the team, I am not surprised. They fully deserve the position that they have at the moment. We know the type of game that we expect to play tomorrow and where the opportunities are and the things that we have to do very well to beat them. And that's what we're going to try to do. Okay. Yeah, he was never going to say that he's surprised, would he? Because you don't want to give the opponent any kind of determination, any more determination than they already have to beat you. I mean, the fact that we're top going into that game is enough. They've got nothing to lose, Sunderland, and they're currently 4th. So they're exceeding expectations anyway, so they can play with a free spirit and they have the fans on side. So we don't want to really do anything to rile them up even more. However, I think if he's being honest, you asked him away from the cameras, you have to say that even the most ardent Sunderland supporter would be surprised with how well they've done. They're literally halfway towards, the points tally that would be sufficient enough for them to stay in this division, as they've got 18 points, if I'm not wrong. And I'd say about 35, 36 will be enough for them to secure their survival. And it will take the worst fall off for them to not stay in this division. But I think they'll be fine. On if we get enough credit for our clean sheet run. It's not about credit. It's about doing it. And once you've done it, do it again. And that's what we have to do. Today, we train at our best, try to improve, try to give a lot of clarity to the players and understanding of the game that we have to play and execute it again and again. Yeah, obviously, it's pretty simple. If you keep clean sheets, you're not going to lose football matches, we've only conceded in 3 different games this season out of around 15. So in essence, we've only lost 1 game to a phenomenal free kick, unstoppable free kick from Dominic Szoboszlai. And I don't think we deserve to lose that game anyway. So obviously we're giving ourselves a good basis to go and pick up results, namely wins, because the only 2 games we haven't won were against Man City and Liverpool, in 2 games where we should have picked up more than we actually did. So that bodes well for the future if we can continue in this way. On how we continue to improve everything, because you learn from your team, from your players every single day, from the opponents that you have to play every single time. And that's information that is so valuable to us. It's going to be a very different game to Tuesday, a very different game to Tuesday and to the week before. We need to read it. We need to understand very early what the game requires, what we have to do to be better than them, and hopefully to beat them. Yeah, I think today is going to be a tough assignment. It's going to be different to Tuesday. I think it's going to be tougher. Although we had a kind of hostile atmosphere, but we weathered the storm after the first 20 minutes and we took the game away from them. I think in this game it's going to be about patience and perseverance, just like I said last week against Burnley. And even if we're level or struggling after 50, 60 minutes, we just got to keep probing, and eventually I think we will find a way to prize them open one way or another. On if he aspires to reach 1,000 matches as a manager, I would be extremely happy and proud if one day I am able to do what Pep Guardiola has done in his career, because as you all know, he's probably been the most important person in my football career. I'm incredibly proud of him and what he's done. Well, what can I say? Friends, on if Xhaka was underappreciated by supporters, I don't know. Certainly, internally, he had a lot of appreciation. I'm laughing because I just visualised Granit, and it makes me laugh because he was such a character, a huge personality, very funny, super professional, and one of those guys that can change the dressing room and the spirit of a team. That's a superpower to have. And I've already mentioned Granit. He's like a leader. He's obviously gone into Sunderland, captained them. He captained Switzerland for around 10 years. He's captained Borussia Mönchengladbach. He captained Arsenal. So one thing is in common. He's been captain at all the clubs he's been at pretty much. So that tells you he's got leadership qualities that rub off on his colleagues. And if we are the only team that can stop ourselves winning a league, no, I don't agree. Sorry, because any team has the capacity, and I'm sure the belief as well that they can do it. We are fully aware of that. We know our strength. We know the things that we have to improve as well, and we just focus on that. Well, he's not going to say yes, is he? I mean, let's be real. But the league's not over. Man City are not too far away, and neither are Liverpool. You know, we come up against tough opponents, sturdy opponents in Sunderland, but after the international break, that's when it gets even tougher, where we go straight into a North London derby at home to Tottenham. Then we have Bayern Munich alongside us, the top side in Europe. And then we have a tough assignment at Chelsea, who will be, you know, they'll be riled up to beat us for the first time in around 4 years. So obviously we need to just take things step by step. On if he wants our game against Everton to be moved, I remain super optimistic that this is not going to be the case, because from every angle, from the Premier League, from the EFL, from UEFA, all the time, the only thing that we talk about is the welfare of the players and the supporters. If we want to maintain that principle, we cannot play Sunday and Tuesday. We have been very positive in talks with the clubs and the Premier League, and hopefully we'll find a way to help as much as possible. Sometimes you cannot help 200 people that have an issue. But for that reason, if I can say that I can help 100 people, I'm not going to do it, because what about the other 100? No. Help the 100 if you can, and the other 100. Next time you have the opportunity, do it as well. I think we need to be very thorough, and we cannot allow ourselves to be put in that situation. Well, that was a lot of waffle. I'm fries with that. But yeah, I think it's fair to say he's not happy with the scheduling. But I think as we get closer to the time, common sense will prevail and the dates will be changed anyway. So I don't think we have to worry too much about that. On what Gabriel Jesus brings to our team, a player who's very unpredictable, full of energy and super competitive, a player who comes from a context of difficulty in the last few seasons due to various nasty injuries. So the level of hunger and desire that he's going to bring to the team is going to be amazing. So I'm thrilled to have him. I think he's going to add something extra to the team that we don't have, and make sure that very soon we see him on the pitch making an impact for the team. Yeah, I've mentioned Gabriel Jesus already earlier on, but I don't think we should expect to see him until December at the very earliest, and if not January, because obviously he's been out for 9-10 months. He's back on the training pitch, but obviously match fitness is completely different. So he needs to have like a good month of a contact training for us to be able to consider having him on the bench and trying to build his fitness from there. On if he sees Jesus staying for the long term, yes, because we haven't had our forwards and now we don't have Viktor and we haven't had Kai again for 3 months or many other forwards. Unfortunately, that's becoming something that consistently happens. So we need these options. What an option to have with Gabby. I think he's deliberately answered a completely different question. But I think the question was, do you think Gabriel Jesus will stay beyond this summer? And Arteta's deliberately not answered it. On the use of AI in football, I don't know enough to make a decision, but I think it is a tool that is super powerful if you use it in the right way. And if you ask the right questions, it's in use already for many things and many processes that can help not just the team, but an organisation as well. I think it will improve and it will give us good insights of things, at least. It's assisted football in a sense with goal line technology and things like that. But obviously in terms of training, it'll probably help in terms of statistics, you know, things like that, where the tech savvy geeks would know more about people like myself on if we use AI at the club. I'm not the most expert on that to comment, but it's a valuable tool. We have developed certain things that, in our opinion, can help, especially to understand ourselves better and what we do and evaluate what we do and what we can improve. Then I think it will extend to many other areas of the club. Well, as Arteta said, he's not an expert and I certainly aren't either. On managing Xhaka's absence from the club, it wasn't an easy decision because I knew the impact that he could still have at the club and on the team. But then when you have one of those leaders as well, you need to have them in a right frame of mind and fully committed and have him feeling that this is the best place for him. Granit, when he expressed his idea, the reasons why he believed he was better now or the right timing after everything we went through together to take on another challenge and to take that journey somewhere else, it really made me think whether it was the right thing again to try to persuade him to stay and if he was having a deep feeling about moving. So yeah, I mean, Granit has left, but I think Declan Rice was effectively brought in to replace him. And I think, if I'm being honest, as good as Granit Xhaka was, top player, I think Declan Rice is a better, younger version of him. And obviously he's, 26, mid-20s. He's not even in the prime of his career. However, having both of them, I'm not sure how that would have worked. But, Granit Xhaka is now 33 years old. Declan Rice is 26, already at a high level now. And he's in the engine of our team. And effectively our key player, or one of about 3 or 4. On players stepping up since Xhaka left. When you have such a character there, other players are taking different roles, and when that person is not there or that role is not there, some other people have to step in. Whether players are already there or players that we identify that we want to recruit as well, that could provide something different, because it's always going to be different. It was a good exercise to do. Yeah, I think in terms of leaders, we've had other people come, step up since Xhaka's left. People like Gabriel Jesus, definitely. And as I've mentioned already, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka as well, taking more of a leadership role. So, as people leave, other people step in and take different roles and adapt and develop as a consequence. On the importance of our match against Sunderland, every weekend is crucial. There are weekends for other possible results or for other games. Maybe they are a little bit more important, but at the end, you just need to conquer a certain amount of points if you want to achieve our goals. And 3 points against Sunderland tomorrow is going to be really tough, and we're going to have to really earn them. Well, yeah, it's pretty clear that this is a crucial week in the Premier League, the most crucial so far. If Arsenal can win and extend their lead, it puts pressure on both sides tomorrow, especially Liverpool, who are away to Man City, who are in a good, they're in a good run of form right now, especially with Haaland. So if we can win and get our noses further ahead, then effectively whoever loses tomorrow is in trouble, in a precarious position in terms of the league challenge. On if Xhaka has been used in the wrong position before Arteta's arrival. No, because when we signed him, it was for the right reason, because he was playing in a different role, but he was excellent. When you see him playing for the national team and with Leverkusen in a deeper role, he did very well, as well as the necessity of the team or the understanding of the manager or the coach about a player or the chemistry that he can create around other players as well. And we believe that Granit's position had to be modified. It brought him a challenge as well. But I think that was quite positive for him to say, I'm going to show everyone that I can do it. And Granit needs that as well in his personality. Okay, interesting. Well, I mean, Arteta had used Xhaka in various positions. Remember, he actually used Xhaka as a inverted fullback, as a left back that goes into midfield. And you wouldn't have seen that as a natural position for him. But to be fair, he did well in the rare occasions he played there. But I think he found Granit's best position as a box-to-box number 8, the position that Declan Rice currently plays in. But obviously I've seen him play deeper for Switzerland and Leverkusen, just as he's mentioned as well. So it just shows that he's very adaptable and versatile, because I remember when Arsene Wenger first brought him in, he was used deeper and he struggled. He has exhibited his versatility over the years for sure. On Declan Rice's form, he's been super consistent and playing at such a high level, and now we see him impacting the games in various ways, in different areas of the pitch, in different phases of the game, and this is exactly what we want. I think his role is growing at the club, in the team, naturally as well, in a really organic way, and he needs to maintain that because he's been exceptional. Yeah, I think with Declan Rice, I think he started the season slow because maybe he was tired from pre-season from last season, but similar to last season, he started first half of the season was, when I say slow, I mean good, but then obviously the second half of the season, he was outstanding, and I think he's starting to grow into his new role because his role slightly changed with Zubimendi coming into the team, with Eze coming into the team, so he's kind of learning to mesh together with them, to assimilate with those new players and kind of know how to adapt to those players as a consequence of them coming into the team, because last season we had people like Partey and Odegaard that played with him, so it's a completely different personnel